Hi everyone. My name is Allie. I'm the Lifestyle Medicine Program Manager. So I've been helping everyone, all the panelists, kind of set it up and links and everything. So just so everyone knows, it's being recorded and it'll be posted on our website, but none of your names will be shown. It's just the panelists that will that everyone will be able to see. So the Lifestyle Medicine Program at Mass Gen is so excited that we have this 3-part virtual series exploring strategies for staying well during the new year. So we're so happy that everyone's joined us today. Today, the episode 1, will focus on the greatest wealth is health. That's the title of this talk. Healthy goals for the new year. So some of you might just ask, what is lifestyle medicine? It's an evidence-based practice of helping people adopt and sustain healthy behaviors to improve quality of life, mood, energy levels, and potentially cancer outcomes. So over the next few months, our team will look forward to sharing these tools with you during the series. And then at the end of the webinar today, there will be an opportunity for a Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box and we'll get to those towards the end. So I'll hand it off to Amy and the rest of the group to introduce themselves.
Thank you so much, Allie, and thank you for all your hard work, and Jill for making this series happen. We're so excited to offer this series to you over these next few months to really provide education about the role of lifestyle medicine in optimizing health, well-being, and outcome for individuals with a cancer diagnosis. My name is Amy. We're all going on first name basis for this webinar, and I'm thrilled to be the director of the Lifestyle Medicine Program at the Mass General Cancer Center. I'm a breast oncologist as well and director of the Mass General Waltham Cancer Center. And one thing I'm particularly excited about is that almost every member of our amazing lifestyle medicine team is participating in this webinar series. So you will get to learn from a wide variety of our team members over the next few months, and you're in for a real treat. Now I'm going to turn it over to my amazing colleague, Shalu, Dr. Ramchandani, so she can introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shalu. Some of you know me as Shirley, but my nickname is Shalu, and some of my patients might be wondering why it says Shalu instead of Shirley. But anyhow, I am an internist, and I practice mostly weight management and lifestyle medicine in my private practice, but also I'm at the Benson Henry Institute for Mind Body Medicine at MGH, and I've had the great privilege on being a part of this team with Dr. Comander on the lifestyle medicine team at MGH Cancer Center.
Now we'd love to hear our amazing guests as well. So Maggie, why don't you start and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Maggie Plagge. I am a cancer survivor and a Paving the Path to Wellness graduate. I did the Paving the Path to Wellness with Amy Comander and the rest of the crew. I am about a 2-year breast cancer survivor at this point, and I am so thrilled that I get to talk to you all today too.
We're so glad you're here too, Maggie. Judy, your turn.
Great, thanks. Hi, my name is Judy Levine, and I am a cancer survivor, but I like to say thriver, and as well as a paving graduate with Maggie. And I am, I think, just about as actually a 1.5 breast cancer survivor as well.
Wonderful. Thank you both for joining us to share your perspectives. So as Allie noted, we're going to be discussing approaches for goal setting for the new year. And Shalu is going to kick us off with the first question.
Great. Thank you, Amy. First of all, I just want to say Happy New Year, but Happy Chinese New Year for those of you who celebrate. January is always a great time to set some new goals around positive behavior changes, right? And anytime, it shouldn't just be in January. Of course, we need to think about working on behaviors all throughout the year, but it's always a nice time of the year to sort of start fresh. And on Judy's note, she said that she's a thriver, not a survivor. And I think the most importantly, that these people set goals in making behavior changes because they are just in the survival mode, right? Most of the year, we're just kind of going along and doing our things. And there are things that we want to be doing with our lives that would help us thrive. And that is a reason to make those personal goals for behavior change. And I will say that the when I'm talking to my patients, the most common things that I encounter, of course, are health-related behavior changes, right? And we talk about losing weight, but really being physically healthy and being mentally healthy. So those are the usual things that people set those goals around. So I'm curious to know, just from maybe even a chat box, people could even just say, like, how many people actually by the end of the year are sustaining those goals that they set for January? Does anyone have ideas? Can we use that poll thing? I wonder if
That's such a great
we
question.
yeah, but you know, we didn't create a poll, but if people want to just write in the chat what their thoughts might be about how many people are successful in maintaining those behavior changes by the end of the year. We'll give it a few seconds. Nobody has any
You
ideas.
can use the chat or the Q&A box also.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna type in there.
One answered. Nope. Okay. Oh, I see some coming. Okay, 50%. Okay. That's Stephanie. Thank you. That's a little high, but and all right. So I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you guys. So statistics have shown it's only 9 to 12% of the people are actually able to sustain those behaviors at the end of the year. So, you know, we ask why. Why is that? You know, everybody knows that when you're setting behavior change goals, that obviously that's something that they really want to do. But what is so difficult about sustaining them? So just to get us started, I thought, you know, we could just kind of name a couple of things that come to my mind right away. One, of course, is the behavior even aligning with their values? I think that would be the most important one, right? I often hear that I decided I'm going to join a gym because my doctor told me that it was good for me, or that my spouse wants me to start exercising with them. And, you know, people, when they're doing it for another reason that's not coming from them, that's not their intrinsic motivation, we call that, then more likely than not, they're not going to be able to sustain that, right? So it really needs to align with their values of why this is important to them before they start setting some goals around that behavior change. And then I think the second really obvious one is also if it's a realistic goal. So if somebody says, if they go from not walking at all on a regular basis to saying they're going to run a 10K this year, or maybe that's happen, you know, it can happen. But again, it may be a little unrealistic to think that maybe by springtime, they'll already be running a 10K. A little more realistic and sustainable is definitely more sure for the path of success. So I think that would be a good place to start. And then we can ask Judy and Maggie to maybe give us some ideas on what has been helpful for them in making some behavior changes.
Absolutely.
Great. You know, Maggie, I don't know if, you know, some of the things immediately, I so agree with you as far as setting, there's a balance between setting aspirational and, you know, realistic goals. And, you know, I also say, like, being kind to yourself and what you set your goals at, because even if I have a bad day and say, okay, you know, there's always the next minute, and that's a thing. And you know, trying to kind of set for myself, what are some things that I want to do and get back into. I was, you know, a runner, and, you know, or I say jogger, not, you know, but I was a runner. And after I had breast cancer, you know, it's taking me some time to kind of get back in that mindset. And I think that for me, one of the first most important things is my mindset, and how to change my mindset and being positive and being, you know, happy of what progress and what goals are for me, and, you know, setting what are important realistic goals.
Thank you. Maggie?
I couldn't agree more. I think the struggle I had at the beginning was setting unrealistic goals for my pre-cancer mind and body. And it was very disappointing when I wasn't able to reach these sort of unrealistic goals. But what I've learned is that I set very small goals for where I'm at now. Like, what is my body able to do now? What is my mind ready to do now? And I set very super small goals. and I give myself credit for the goals. Like, for instance, there was a time where we learned at paving that, giving up soda might be a great idea. And so, I started this week, I'm only going to have one ginger ale. Next week, I'm going to have 3/4 of one. Next week, I'm going to have a half. And every time I made it through the week, I was like, wow, you did great. It's the smallest goal, but giving myself credit. I have this quote, and it's on this coffee mug that I use every day. And it says, celebrate the small victories. And that's sort of where I am. And it's like, oh, you need to go out walking. Don't say you're going to walk a mile every day for a week. Just say you're going to put your sneakers on and get out there. If you walk around the block once, I come home and I'd be like, you know what? I didn't put my PJs on. I put my running shoes on. I walked around the block once today. That's a victory to me. So
Right.
I feel like setting the large goals where you're not at in your mindset and your body can't do is really a detriment to you. You're not giving yourself realistic goals. So I think, like you both said, is setting a goal that you can attain.
Right.
I love that. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, because it's so true that people lose motivation if they feel like they had set this goal of doing 3 days a week at the gym. And by the 3rd or 4th week of January, if they have not been hitting that gym consistently, like they said they were going to, now they've already lost their motivation. So instead of going from that 100 to 0, that self-compassion piece has to be there, right? And, sometimes it's okay to do 70 versus 100%. So even if you're getting there at all, and then sometimes if you're not getting there, maybe it's time to revisit those goals, right? Was that really unattainable? And maybe I need to set smaller baby steps. Maybe it won't be getting to the gym right away. And like what Maggie said, maybe it'll just be taking a walk around the block.
Right.
Thank you so much, Judy and Maggie, for sharing these great perspectives. Actually, both of you made comments that made me think of interesting questions I wanted to ask you. But one thing that Maggie just said about how you set these very small goals for yourself, like cutting back on the soda, walking around the block, etc. I don't know if some of our participants have read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, but actually the subtitle of this book is Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results. And I heard a podcast interview with him where he described why he called it Atomic Habits. Atomic, I have the book right here, by the way, an extremely small amount of a thing, the single irreducible unit of a larger system. And habit, a routine or practice performed regularly. So basically in this book, he really makes a case for making these tiny changes over time, these tiny changes in our habits that ultimately result in us being successful with achieving a larger goal. So I definitely recommend this book, or listen to a podcast if you're interested in learning more, because it's a really valuable tool. Another question I had, Judy, you really mentioned the importance of your mindset, how that had to shift after your cancer diagnosis so you could kind of get back to achieving the various types of goals you want to set for yourself. And I know both of you have learned so much about the power of mindset since your diagnosis of breast cancer. And I was wondering if you could share with our participants some strategies or tips for how you were able to sort of adapt your mindset to living as a breast cancer thriver and move forward after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, taking a step back and, first just trying to change your mindset and realize that, I am a thriver, and, trying to be positive for whatever these little steps are. And I am alive, and whatever the journey that I went through is different than anyone else, but it's still my journey. And, I remember when I was in the paving group that, I was in, there were many different people who I thought they had it worse or they had a different experience. And, I am accepting that my journey was my journey, and trying to understand like what's good for me and what I can do, and just really trying to work on my my mindset and be more positive, and try and how I can move forward to thrive, and what are some things that I want to accomplish, in my life, whether it's, my personal, professional, there's so many different aspects of your life and how to, move forward with that.
I agree with Judy. I had to, I use this every time somebody says, oh, can you do this? Or can you, and in my mind, I'm always like, Maggie, you beat cancer, you can do anything. So my mindset is always, okay, well, if there's something I'm wanting to accomplish, I have to think about it. Can I actually realistically do this? And then I say, you know what, Maggie, you can do this. Like, you can do this, and you just have to talk yourself through. Like the other day when it was snowing, did I want to go for a walk? Absolutely not. But I'm like, you know what? You can do this. Put your sneakers on, get outside, and just tell yourself you can do this. Maybe you're not going to do the mile walk. Maybe you're not going to get all the way, but you got your sneakers on and you told yourself you can do it. That's
Right.
that's the key, is believe in yourself, give yourself credit. You can do it. I may not run as far as Judy. I may not, I may not give, I may not achieve what, Amy's going to achieve in her job, but if I got out there and set a goal for myself and I at least got out there, to me, that's winning. And I tell myself
True.
every day, you can do this, Maggie. You beat cancer, you can do this. And it's a thing I say over and over again. Like even at work, I have to give my employees attainable goals on their reviews. I have to sit there and I'll be like, can this person do this? And then when I present the goals to them, I'm like, you can do this. You can do this. This is how you're going to do it. It's all about your mindset. You can do this. And that's kind of how my family's sick of hearing me say, oh, Mom beat cancer, she can do anything. But that's sort of
Yeah.
what my mindset is right now.
And if I can also add, one of the things, through Facebook, I'm, a member of, this happiness groups, and there's also, there's the happiness. There's a lot of things out there to help if you're not somebody who feels like, I don't know how to change my mindset. But there's the course. I'm Dr. Mir and or Amy, I know you know the title, the course that's taught out of Yale. So there's a lot of things out there through social media, through, the website, to help you work on your mindset if you feel that's something that you need assistance with, or you need an accountability partner to help you motivate yourself to keep you going. So I just wanted to kind of touch upon that, because you don't always have to do it yourself. There's people out there that could help, lift you up. I mean, it has to come from within, but I'm sure hopefully everyone has somebody or people that they can, help lift them up as well.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
there's a lot of quotes on the internet too, like motivational quotes, and it's often helpful to print those out and maybe even frame it or stick it on your bathroom mirror or stick it on your desk at work. Like I have this cup out, regardless, it's empty right now, but I keep it literally in the middle of my desk, because celebrating the small victories counts at work too. So it's sort of just there as a reminder. So sometimes when you have those little reminders there, if you don't, like I have Judy that I can text anytime, or even Amy or anybody really, but when I'm alone, I've got these little reminders all over the place that are like, you can do this, like you got this.
I love that. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Going back to just the small steps, I was even thinking about how, when you're setting those small baby steps, that can also just be a chain reaction, right? Like normally when you succeed at one goal, it becomes so much easier now for you to take something else on, because you're so excited and, and enthused by the fact that you achieved this. So it can set off a whole chain reaction. And, if you think about setting these small, tiny little goals in 12 months, maybe you'll get through, I don't know, 6 behavior changes, whatever they might be, but that would still be incremental and very big at the end of the day. But going back to what the two of you were talking about for accountability, I think that has so much to do with being able to sustain your behavior change. I was talking to one of my patients this morning, and I don't know if she's on right now. She said she was going to try to log on. She said to me that one of the things that she realized was the gym was too far when January came around. And so she hasn't been making it. But one thing she did do was she talked to her son, who wants to also work on weight loss, and her sister and their nieces. So they've all made a pact to go together every other day. So 3 days a week, they're walking 4 miles a day. Now that's the accountability. And today, because the kids were busy, she said that we were thinking about maybe not going, but my sister called me, and I am going because she called me. So that is the accountability. Yeah. So having, like you said, Judy, you said having a partner for accountability, but also I think on social media now, there are wonderful groups that you can join for accountability, but then your apps also. So tracking progress is really helpful. So when you're tracking your progress, it's kind of like what's measured is done. right? So tracking that over time already helps you to see how successful you've been. And that is accountability to yourself. So that helps you to keep sustaining that behavior change as well. And then the other big thing really is the self-compassion piece. Like, Maggie was saying, we're so hard on ourselves, right? Just because we didn't, exercise 3 days a week, and, it's not an all or nothing phenomena. And life does get in the way. We wake up with really great intentions of what we want to achieve for the day, and things get in the way. And you have to just be kind to yourself that you can only do so many things in a day. And maybe tomorrow, I'll regroup and see what else I can work on that will be attainable. And it might just be a 10-minute walk. And that's all good too.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more what you said. I mean, over the years, I have a daughter, and years ago she was kind of trying to figure out how she wanted to exercise. So we kind of made a fun thing. Okay, let's, I think she must not have been living at home at the time. She's, was, either somewhere, but we started texting each other. We did push-ups and sit-ups every day. And that lasted for about 3 years. And then for various reasons that stopped. And just recently for myself, trying to get back into doing that, someone at work, he was saying the same thing. Oh, I'm struggling. And I said, okay, I've got a challenge for each of us. We're going to text each other every time we do our push-ups, sit-ups, and our planks. And I think it's been 2 months now that we haven't missed a day because we text each other
Wow.
done that. So, those of you know me, I like little goals and little challenges. But whatever it might be, that's going to, as you were saying, Shalu, to have that carrot at the end to make yourself feel good. And I love the story of your patient. She has someone who's keeping her accounted to kind of move forward. And that's what, really is so helpful, and whatever that might be.
And I have to say, to your point, I think the most important thing is about making it fun, right? Because she said that she's really enjoying these walks. No matter what the weather has been, this is giving her time to spend with her sister, the niece, and her son, and they're taking this walk together, and that's been enjoyable. And if you're, like I had somebody who said to me, like, my plan was to get on my treadmill for 3 days a week. Well, guess what? I asked, and I said, well, how, do you even like the treadmill? No, I hate the treadmill, right? So realistically speaking, if you hate doing that, then chances of you getting on a treadmill is going to be very low. So finding an activity that you actually enjoy, taking a walk outside, being out in the nature, spending time with family, what else could be more fun? I'm thinking, oh, dancing. I love dancing, right? So those are things that it could be any form of enjoyment that you get out of it.
I love that. Shalu, you're reminding me of one of my own patients who, maybe she's watching this, I don't know, but after her breast cancer diagnosis, many times in our visits, I would counsel her about the importance of strength training, for building up muscle, for preserving bone health, etc. And she took me seriously. She not only went to a gym to start learning about weightlifting, but, and I'm not recommending this to the general audience, but she became like a competitive power weightlifter, which was like something she had never done in her whole life. And now she's like really into it. And when I saw her last and I was asking her about it, and she knows I love running, she's like, I hate running. I hate treadmills. You made me think of that, but I love weightlifting. That's what brings me joy. And she's like, everyone finds their thing. And it's so true. We all have our thing. Maybe it's Zumba dancing, maybe it's hula hooping, maybe it's cycling, but everyone has their thing. And it's important to make it fun when it comes to physical activity, which I'll put in a plug on February 8th. Our colleagues will be discussing how to make physical activity fun. So we can really look forward to that webinar.
Right. Yes.
But I do have a question for Judy and Maggie as I think about what they've been through, and certainly many of our participants who are viewing this webinar. And this is kind of a tough one, but after your cancer diagnosis, how did that change your outlook in terms of setting goals for health and fitness? And was the cancer diagnosis in some way something that maybe gave you a little bit of a, I don't know if teachable moment's the right word, but made you more inspired to kind of get on it with some of these goals? And I'm curious what your thoughts are about that.
Judy, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, the the definitely, I mean, first, kind of getting this punch, being like, wow, cancer affects, you always thought cancer affects somebody else, not me. And, getting that, news, and then, after some of the different, radiation and surgery, and kind of now, just what I was listening to what you were saying, Amy, about, strength training and all that, even more importantly, I recognize that this is my body, and it is important for me to be healthy. And, I had to have a bone density, and I spoke with Amy, and she's like, okay, you need to be, do the strength training, and you need to do that. And no one else can do that but me. And I really recognize I need to take control because I want to stay healthy. So that really just is trying for me, my mind shift to be like I need to do something about this. It's not, this is not something that I can just say, okay, yeah, I know, maybe I want to lose a little extra weight here or there, but really being healthy on the inside is so it really it was so kind of even more eye awakening after having gone through cancer, that I want to stay healthy for the long run.
Right. I'm sort of the same as Judy. Like I probably, like anybody else probably listening, when you first heard the word cancer, I mean, the first thing that I think most people think of is, am I going to die? Right? That's the first thing you have to get past. And then you recognize, okay, we have the best doctors in the world where we live here in Massachusetts. But to Judy's point, like Amy's an amazing doctor for me, but she can't fix me. She can do the medical side, but the rest of it is me. She can give me recommendations. We learn what we're supposed to do in the paving, but it's all about, like Judy said, your mind is like, we are responsible for our own bodies. We know that we shouldn't be drinking soda 12 times a day. We know that we shouldn't be doing certain things. And it's getting yourself, that the word cancer was definitely a fire starter to say, like, okay, maybe you lived that way and it worked for you before, but here's where you are now. That is not going to work. You need to live a healthier lifestyle so that you can be around to accomplish your goals, be around for your kids, all of that. And so for me, it's the cancer definitely was a kickstart to change my eating habits, my exercising habits, and just my mindset overall. Because Judy had mentioned there's a happiness lab group that we're part of on Facebook, and it's a group that you don't say negative things. You say, oh, I am grateful that I was able to wake up today. Not that, oh, it stinks that I have to go to work today, or it really stinks because it's gloomy and snowing. Guess what? We get to live today. So the diagnosis does open your eyes to things that you probably never thought of before, that you were just sort of getting by and thinking, oh, this isn't going to happen to me. But I do 100% think that that diagnosis has kickstarted a whole new lifestyle for me, for sure.
Wow, thank you both for sharing your inspiring perspectives. It's really helpful.
But I also say that for others who don't, there are some patients on this call who don't have a cancer diagnosis, and I will say that we don't want to always. I mean, certainly, anytime having a diagnosis of anything, other cancer for sure, it's really scary to hear that word. But even people come in with prediabetes or hypertension when they've been diagnosed, and coronary artery disease, and now they're really inspired to make some changes because they realize that they have to. But certainly even without having all these diagnoses, certainly one can think about, where are my long-term goals? Like, where are my long-term values? What do I want to be doing 10 years from now? And certainly nobody wants to ever receive any of these diagnoses, right? So I think just hoping and to be able to work on any positive behavior changes to prevent any diagnoses would be sort of like the number one goal, I think. But before there was a couple of things I wanted to mention that before we run out of time. I think that if when one is sort of setting these goals around making some behavior changes, I think it's really important to also plan for failures, because failures is a part of life, right? We all have goals that we've set and not been able to achieve them. And we talked a lot about setting the realistic goals, the small baby steps, which can all be very helpful, but also just planning for barriers. There's always going to be barriers that come in our way, right? The dog ate my sneaker last night, so I can't get up and go for a run this morning. So, having that plan in place, I think is really helpful. Of, okay, if the weather's going to be really crappy tomorrow and I can't go for a walk, what am I going to do instead? And I think that's helpful. But also we talked a lot about the accountability partner. I think that's helpful. And then tracking your progress is really helpful. I think sort of to summarize the big picture when you're setting a goal is, not even thinking about so much about, like a lot of people say, I just want to lose weight this year. And I think that's one of the highly sort of set goals for, when people are making New Year's resolutions, but it's really not about so much about the weight loss, right? What is it really? It's about being healthy in your body at the end of the day, preventing disease or reversing disease. And if you think about sort of the weight loss goal, you really should, instead of thinking of this kind of broad category, but maybe start identifying, well, what small baby steps am I going to take to get there? And we all have to start somewhere. So maybe it's nutrition, maybe it's the exercise you start with, but it's setting all of these small goals that hopefully we'll be covering in the next 6 months through this wonderful series of how you can achieve them.
And Shalu, I think that I sort of eliminate the word failure from my goals. I kind of think of it as a report card, and
Yeah.
I give myself a D-. So if I didn't get out,
Right.
it's not really a failure. It's you had it in your mind. You knew that you set this goal for yourself and you tried, but for whatever reason, something got in the way. And then, hey, I got a D- for the day, but I can get my report card up tomorrow. Right.
Absolutely.
So I try to not use the word failure, because
no, you're absolutely right. That's not
negative to me.
Yeah. Yes,
No.
you're absolutely right. I think it's about giving that grace to yourself. Yeah. And just,
Sure.
And today wasn't a great day. No worries. Tomorrow I'll be back up again and we'll try again.
That it's so true. And as you say, setting what's realistic, because when you talk about some of these different goals and how to be successful in your goals, because when you talk about, joining a gym or things like that, what can you do to set yourself up for success? Now, when I go to the gym, I pack my bag the night before. So I have my gym bag ready to go. Or if I'm going to go for the walk, have your clothes out, your sneakers out. So think about your own life and think about what is the goals that you're trying to do. If it's eliminating soda, I love soda. I do drink Coke, and I go through these years, these cycles, but don't buy it in the house. And, maybe, think of whatever it is you're trying to achieve, and what are some, as you said, what are the barriers that you can reduce to make yourself more successful? Whether it's, I know people for Halloween, they buy the candy they don't like to eat. So I guess you have to kind of think what it is for yourself and what are you trying to achieve and how to make yourself successful, and whatever that success might be, and how do you define that?
So on that note, I think we should also mention setting SMART goals, because when we talk about, just saying I'm going to go to the gym, 3 days a week is not very specific, right? So when we talk about setting SMART goals, we try to break down that goal into being very specific on what you're going to do and have it be sort of measurable, right? So SMART, so have it be measurable, achievable, and realistic, and then of course time bound. So I'm going to the gym and I'm going to be going on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. and I'm going to stay there for 20 minutes, whatever it is. But having that on the calendar, that makes it much more achievable than just saying in January I'm going to start going to the gym 3 days a week.
Right. And even a short-term goal, like if you're not ready to do the long-term goal, set a daily goal. Like tomorrow I am going to do this. It's kind of like with the soda for me is, for this whole week, I'm only going to have 1 soda per day. And and then the next week is you're only going to have half of this. And then for the third week, And then so you have to set realistic goals like you were saying, but some people aren't ready to do the long-term goals or even say, I'm going to join a gym and go 3 days a week. Like, I only care about, am I going to get there today? Right. So
Right.
I just give
Yeah.
myself credit for the day because the long-term goals seem unattainable to me. That's where I'm at in my own life. So the short-term goals for me are much easier.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Like I did the same thing this morning with somebody else who said to me that she was hoping by January came along, she was going to give up meat and, become vegetarian. Well, that's a really big goal, right? I mean, if you're not somebody who is used to getting in a lot of vegetables. So you're right. And we just talked about, well, what are you going to add today for a vegetable? Just today. That's it. So you're absolutely right that, yeah, setting those tiny little goals, even on a daily basis, is helpful.
I love those examples, Shalu, your patient who says, I'm going to lose weight this year, or I'm going to cut out meat this year. And I love how you break it down using the SMART framework, because that's so important. And I know Maggie and Judy both know a lot about the SMART framework, certainly from the paving program and work they've done in setting their own goals. And I think it's just such a great example of how we can, certainly all of us personally, and all of us who are watching this webinar, can incorporate these tools when thinking about our goals, since we still have a lot of 2023 ahead of us. So on that note, as I was thinking about some questions for our session today, I thought of the quote that I'm sure we've all heard, and I was like, who said this? But it was management guru Peter Drucker, and he's famous for the quote, "What gets measured gets managed." And I'm sure you've all heard that before. And it's certainly relevant to goal setting, and it certainly comes up a lot, obviously, in research as well. But I'm just curious, Judy and Maggie, if there's any tools you use to kind of track your progress or measure progress with specific goals that you've set, or maybe not, but maybe that's journaling or just being accountable to someone each day. But I was wondering your perspectives about that.
Sure. Maggie, do you want to go first?
You can go, Judy, go ahead.
Okay. I think it's great. I mean, accountability is so important. I mean, there's as you just described. I mean, I now have, one of a daily text with somebody as far as one of the things I'm doing. So that for me, like it sounds so simple. Do some sit-ups, push-ups, a plank every day. There's some days all of a sudden at the end of the day and I'm like, all of a sudden I'll get a text from him, done. And literally I'm like, oh, I got to do this today. So setting that's one thing that I do. Setting as a breast cancer or any cancer survivor, I recently joined the free program through the Y, the Live Strong program. And that's something that I'm able to, have accountability of going to a place and being able to do something and have that account. So having that structure and having that place to go to, and it is so important, because how can I measure what I'm trying to do? How many days a week do I want to exercise? And now it's like once you start exercising, I now kind of look at my calendar and say, okay, well, what days do I want to exercise? I want to try and get these things in, and what do I want to do? And I think as you feel more excited about it, it just parlays into more exercise.
I do a lot of sort of mental journaling, especially I think, Shalu, you mentioned your patient who's trying to switch to vegetarian. So of course we learned about plant-based diets, and I was all in. But I took the smaller steps, the baby steps, where I went to the supermarket and I said, we plan out our meals for 7 days. And I would say, okay, this week I'm only going to buy meals that have 2 organic meats in it. The rest are all plant-based or whatever. And then I would keep a mental note, like if we got takeout, did I have bacon in my sandwich? Well, tomorrow I was planning on having steak for dinner. Not happening. I just had bacon. So I do a lot of planning at the grocery store, where we my husband and I go shopping together, and we kind of look like what are the meals for the week. And I'll be like, well, we need an option for me because I don't want to eat as much meat as you all. So I kind of keep a mental note. Same thing with the soda, the ginger ale. You can see how many cans are lined up in your fridge. And, if I had a ginger ale for dinner yesterday, I'm not having one tonight. So I kind of just try to keep a mental note instead of like a check back. Because I feel like sometimes if I look at the paper and it's like, oh, no, you didn't do that. No, it's an X and X and X, more like the failure word. I just more like to focus on like what
Positive.
did I do right? And if I did something not so right today, I'll do it better tomorrow, kind of thing. So it's more of a mental thing than something on paper.
That's fantastic.
I love that. I just have
Yeah.
to put in a plug since you mentioned going to the grocery store with your husband, which by the way is so nice. March 1st, we're gonna have a whole session on nutrition with our two fabulous nutritionists who are gonna share how they stock their pantries. So
Nice.
that one too.
Yeah.
So Lou, I
And
didn't interrupt you. I think you had a question or a comment.
I say nutrition
Oh.
is so important. No,
Yeah.
I was just about to agree with you. Nutrition is so important, and some of the things I think important to be mindful. I mean, some of the things I think at first I was overwhelmed, when we're talking about having a diagnosis, and it's like, what goal do I want to, kind of attack and conquer? And within, we talk about being healthy, there's so many different areas of yourself, your mind, your being, your diet. And, I'm trying to take a little bit of each, whether it's drinking less alcohol or no alcohol. I think that you have to realize and be kind to yourself. It's dependent upon your personality, but it's not an all or nothing. And being kind to realize, doing the A, B, and C is better than doing, nothing. And that's what you have to kind of recognize what's going to work for you.
Right?
And that's
I
why I
agree.
love my 70-30 or 80-20 rule. It doesn't have to be 100%, and
No.
not to beat
Every
yourself.
little thing you take toward your health counts. Everything. Like if you avoided sugar in your coffee this morning, because like that's good. That's like a check. Hey, I'm working toward getting better. So that's the smallest little thing, but it does count. It counts because it's something that you did that you knew you probably shouldn't do before, and you've remedied. Okay, maybe I'll only do a half a sugar today, or maybe I'll only do half calf today. It's those little things. They count. They count every time you make a step toward being healthy, whether it's in your mind, your physical, what you're putting in your body. It counts. It counts.
No, thank you for saying that. I couldn't agree more. I just wondered, Amy, do you want to start with some of the questions in the audience? And
Yeah, Allie, do you want to pose them to us? I know we want to encourage you all to put questions in the Q&A box, and there are many. So we're going to try to get to as many as we can. Allie, why don't you take over?
Yeah, so I'll scroll up and start from the top. Someone said, did you have guidance from anyone when setting goals?
That's a good one. Guidance about setting goals. I guess this is directed to Maggie and Judy.
Well, one thing I guess I want to put in a big, guidance of goal is we went through the paving, the paving to path, wellness. I know I'm blurred, but I mean, this was an incredible program to go after, having breast cancer or during your treatment, wherever it was, and really just talked about everything that was discussed today. There was a whole, topic on. So that definitely got my mindset in just thinking about all these different things and how I want to apply them to my life. So that, and if you haven't gone, through that program, I mean, I'm sure there's information that you can find online about it, but I mean, I feel like I can go on and on about how to get guidance because, reaching out to myself or, there's so many different people that can help, to help, give some guidelines.
And I was in the same paving class as Judy, so I agree that paving sort of put us on the way, because for me, the internet is just way too overwhelming. And there are like lay people who write sort of what to do. There are doctors who write what to do. And there's some really trusted websites I use for some information, but it's more like if I need guidance, I'm going to write to a professional. Like I'm going to send Dr. Comander a message in Gateway, or I'm going to ask a nurse practitioner. I'm going to ask a friend. The internet is too overwhelming for me. I'm not a Googler for like information that way. So the guidance through paving obviously helped. And then, just the group that we have out on the side, we always ask each other for advice. And so we sort of get guidance from each other too, as to what works for them, what didn't work for them. But I definitely recommend not just Googling a free-for-all, like how to get healthy. Like you just are going to get overwhelmed with information. So I like the science-based information, the paving program with all its topics laid out for you. That sort of for me was the best guidance I got in the whole journey so far.
Thank you so much. And that was not a planted question, but our whole lifestyle medicine program is certainly designed to help provide education to all cancer patients at the MGH Cancer Center about all the things we've discussed today. And we have an incredible team. I just want to give a shout out to everyone on our team, and we have a great website with lots of information there. But you both raise an important point, and Shalu, I'd love your comments on this too. I mean, the internet, Dr. Google is nobody's friend. Okay. That's what I tell my patients. There are some reputable websites, which certainly we can discuss, but certainly you have to be very careful. I know everyone watching this knows that, but Shalu, how do you counsel your patients about that?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, Amy. I generally tell people not to Google their symptoms, number one, but there is a lot of misinformation online that we should not be following. I mean, we know that even, when Trump was in power, I'm thinking about how he was making his own concoction of how he could not get COVID and those kinds of things. I mean, there is just so much on the internet that is misinformation that we really should not be turning to as our first source of getting the healthy, correct information. So I think contacting your provider is probably the best option. But I was wondering, one of the earlier question also was asking more about what kind of guidance did you have on setting goals? And maybe I'm wrong about that, but I was thinking about what you were saying, Judy, that it is overwhelming for people to think about like how many different areas of their life they want to work on and change. And on that note, I would just say, really holding on to one small thing that's achievable for them usually is the best place to start. And if that means just adding on an extra serving of vegetables a day is the only place they start, then that's a great place to start, because that's certainly going to set a chain reaction for the other goals.
But that really highlights what we've been, the theme is starting something that's achievable and realistic, and I agree with you, whether it's, adding one vegetable and maybe, eventually you add the vegetable and that just becomes part of your diet. And then maybe it's removing, adding, a second something, or, less salad dressing. There's small changes that, I think as Amy mentioned, a habit, how you can change that then just becomes a routine. And some of these,
less like soda, like what Maggie was saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Allie,
So we'll
other
go.
questions? Sorry.
Yeah, there was a couple more. So this one's just a comment, not a question, but someone said so important to set small goals. One positive a day is better than nothing. Mm-hmm. Another question is, did education of knowing what a healthier lifestyle is help you with the mindset? So education about, did the education about the lifestyle help you with the mindset about it?
100%, because what we learned in paving, it's all sort of science-based. So what we learned in that particular program was, yes, it helped us change our mindset. And there were topics on mindset, but having the guidance that shows like science says this and science says this, and it did give us a push to change our mindset about, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't be eating, meat every 7 days a week. Maybe I should incorporate an additional vegetable a day, like Judy was saying. Maybe I should make sure I eat a banana every day in the morning, or whatever it may be, those small things. But the science and the data does give you a little kickstart, right? Because they're proving to you like this works. So if it's working for someone else, the science tells you it works, it's going to work if you put your mindset into it. That's how I feel.
And I think on that same note, same thing with the animal protein versus plant-based protein. There's so much, if you go on just Google, there's all this misinformation about how you get your protein from animal products. And science will show you that you can get excellent, good quality protein just from plant-based proteins and without having to eat animal foods. That's another good example of why we shouldn't be Googling everything.
For sure. I'm realizing this has been such a great discussion and time has like flown by. We actually have only like 7 more minutes, but I thought it'd be fun, and Maggie's already shared hers with us, or maybe she has another one, but if we, each of us, Allie, you included, and Shalu, want to share maybe a closing thought or mantra or something you think about when you're trying to get inspired to chase a new goal, whatever that may be. Maggie, I'm going to pick on you first because you do have that coffee mug in front of you, which I love, but if you want to share a different one, you can.
No, honestly, like the mantra for me is, you beat cancer, Maggie. You can do anything. You can do anything. And then give myself credit for little things that I do. That's how I'm living right now, currently. Now my mantra may change later on. I don't know, but right now I say it 1,000 times a day. You beat cancer, you can do anything. And sometimes I say it in my mind and sometimes I say it out loud, but that is sort of, and I give myself credit for the small things because I deserve the credit for it. There's no failure here. I deserve the credit for making a tiny step or a large step toward getting healthy. That's how I live today.
That's awesome. Love that. That's so helpful. Judy, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say like ditto what Maggie said, but it's so true. And setting, just kind of believing in myself and being happy with what I did. I mean, I haven't ran the other in months. I think I did something in October with my children, and I just kind of haven't mentally been back into running. And I signed up this past Saturday, did a cancer run. I figured what better to get kind of start back running. There was a cancer run in Lexington, and happened to be my dad's birthday, who passed away. And my mother's like, you should, think of your father. So, in my mind, I was like, Judy, think positive things and you can do anything. And, I said to myself at the beginning, I haven't run in months, but I just put my sneakers on and I said to myself, I'm going to run at least a mile. If I can get through a mile, like I'm out there. And I ran the first mile much faster than I ran in a long time. Then I walked a little bit and I said to myself, that's okay that I'm walking. I'm out here. And as we said, I'm not at home. I'm here doing this. And so again, I think the mantra that I would say to myself is, don't be hard on myself. I'm like, look at what I am doing and what I'm not doing. So I think that's like the biggest thing is look what you're doing positive and what you're not doing.
Love that. So inspiring, both of you. Thank you. That's so great. Allie, would you like to share a tip with us?
I really love, Judy, what you said about the texting thing with your coworker. This is kind of unrelated to lifestyle, but my mom, my sister, and I always text Wordle to each other every single day. So if any of us forget at any point in the day and we get a text from one of them, we just automatically go and do it. So that's a little unrelated, but I love the texting accountability aspect of it. Yeah.
That's great. So helpful. I love that. Shalu, it's down to you and I.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's so important to be present in every day, right? Because we're so hard on ourselves all the time about yesterday and we didn't do this. And like you said, Maggie, living more in the positive rather than being in the negative, but really just telling yourself reminding yourselves all the things that you did do, as opposed to all the things that you didn't do. So at the end of the day, I always feel very thankful for everything that I did do. And every day is a new day.
That's so great. Love that, Shalu. Thank you. Well, I have a little sticky note on my computer at home, with a quote that I love. So I'm a runner, some of you know that, and I have this running calendar, and each day there's an inspiring quote. So I do really like this one, and it helps me. So I'm going to share it with all of you. It says, "You are limited edition. Take care of yourself." And I think a lot of what you've all said today really resonates with that, and it really resonates with me. And I do need to pay attention to it sometimes too. Doctors are not perfect either. So I think that's just something I love, and I wanted to share with all of you. But I just want to thank Maggie and Judy. You've shared so many amazing insights with us and with our audience. And I know I was trying to take some notes. I probably didn't get everything you said, but really, I mean, you've learned so much over the course of your own journey since your cancer diagnosis. And it's really, I know, provided all of us with so much knowledge, and certainly everyone who's been watching this webinar today. It's really been helpful. And I'm so grateful to both of you.
Thanks
know.
for asking us to join.
Yeah.
I know Judy and I were both excited that you asked us to join. And sometimes like you said at the beginning, sometimes people want to hear from patients and not doctors.
For sure.
Well, because you have some good information to share, but it does help to hear from other people who've been through maybe something similar. It's always nice to have that connection.
Yeah, no, thank you both so much
Yeah.
for joining us. I just want to say on that last note about self-care, I mean, essentially everything that we've been talking about today is about self-care. And when you're setting these positive, like behavior changes in any time, it really shouldn't be about what your doctor is telling you to do, or your husband, or your teacher, or whatever it is. It is about your self-care at the end of the day. All of these positive behavior changes are only going to support you to be the best that you can be and thrive.
And, thank you for asking, because, one of the things, which I, in posting sometimes on Facebook about, my journey with cancer, is that I've seen people, message me privately say, oh, like, I was recently diagnosed. And, I think people who get diagnosed with cancer, or whatever type of experience, they're looking to connect with people who can relate to what they're going through. And, recently, there was an article in the Mass General about myself, and part of me was like, I'm no different than anyone else. But what I realize is that my story, people can connect with somebody who's gone through what I went through. And that's what's so important in life, is just finding that connection with somebody and how they can relate to that person, and hopefully make a difference in their own life in a positive way.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I love everything you've all said, and I love this concept of self-care and how we should all focus on that. And for those who are still watching, putting in a plug for our whole webinar series. This is just number 1. We have 6 to go. I'm really excited about the one in 2 weeks, which is February 8th at the same time. And 3 of our amazing lifestyle medicine team members, Lauren Winters, Lynn Green-Meltzner, and Christian Baglioni, are going to be speaking about the importance of physical fitness. And their webinar has a great title: Get Fit, Have Fun, and Be Inspired with Exercise. So I hope this webinar has inspired you to join us on February 8th. I know I'm looking forward to it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.